Lily felt like a tumbleweed, blown across the dusty plains with no roots to hold her down. At 22, she'd already packed a lifetime of sorrow into a small suitcase. Her past was a heavy anchor, one she desperately needed to cut loose. So, she ran. She left behind the city, the memories, and the expectations that felt like a cage. Now, behind the wheel of her beat-up sedan, she just kept driving. No destination in mind, just away. Each mile devoured felt like a small victory, a step further from the shadows that haunted her. The sun beat down on the cracked asphalt, mirroring the burning ache in her heart. She gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, her eyes fixed on the endless ribbon of highway. All she wanted was a place where she could breathe, a place where she could finally feel like she belonged, even to herself. But the road ahead seemed as empty and unforgiving as her soul. The thump-thump-thump started subtly, a low vibration in the floor of the car. Lily ignored it at first, attributing it to the rough road. But it grew louder, more insistent, until it was impossible to ignore. She glanced at the dashboard, all the gauges seemed normal. Then, with a sickening hiss, the car lurched violently, pulling hard to the right. Panic flared in Lily's chest. She wrestled with the steering wheel, managing to guide the car onto the narrow shoulder of the road. The engine sputtered and died, leaving her in a silence broken only by the chirping of crickets. She tried the ignition, but the engine only groaned in protest. Steam billowed from under the hood. Swallowing her fear, Lily climbed out of the car. The air was thick with heat, and the sun was beginning to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues of orange and purple. As beautiful as it was, the sunset also brought a chilling realization: she was utterly alone. Miles from anywhere, with a broken-down car and a dwindling sense of hope. The first stars were beginning to prick the darkening sky when Lily heard it, the rumble of an engine in the distance. Hope surged through her, a fragile spark in the growing darkness. She squinted down the long, empty road, and after what felt like an eternity, 2 headlights appeared, growing larger and brighter with each passing second. As the truck approached, Lily stood up straighter, waving her arms cautiously. The truck slowed, its gravelly tires crunching to a halt beside her broken-down car. The driver's side door opened, and a tall figure unfolded himself from the cab. He was silhouetted against the headlights, making it hard to see his face, but she could tell he was broad-shouldered and moved with a quiet confidence. "Evening," he said, his voice a low rumble that was surprisingly gentle. "Looks like you're having some trouble." He stepped closer, and Lily could finally make out his features, a weathered face, etched with lines that spoke of years spent under the sun, and kind, blue eyes that held a hint of concern. He wore a worn denim jacket and a simple cowboy hat that shadowed his brow. This was Jed. Lily hesitated, a knot of suspicion tightening in her stomach. She'd learned the hard way not to trust easily. I think it's the radiator," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "It overheated." Jed nodded slowly, his gaze steady and reassuring. "Well, it's getting late. Nearest town is a good 30 miles from here. Ain't safe for a young woman to be out here alone all night. Tell you what, I'll give you a ride back to my ranch. Got a spare room you can use. In the morning, I can call up Earl, he's a mechanic, and he can come take a look at your car." Lily bit her lip, weighing her options. The thought of spending the night alone in the broken-down car was terrifying. But accepting help from a stranger? She didn't know what to do. Jed seemed to sense her apprehension. "No pressure," he said gently. "Just an offer. If you'd rather wait here, I understand. But the coyotes get pretty bold out here after dark." The coyotes settled it. "Okay," she said, her voice a little stronger. "Okay, thank you." The drive to the ranch was silent. Jed didn't press her with questions, and Lily was grateful. The truck bounced along a dirt road, the headlights cutting through the darkness. After what seemed like a long time, they crested a small hill, and the ranch came into view. It wasn't fancy, a simple, sturdy house with a wide porch, surrounded by barns and corrals. A few lights glowed warmly, casting a welcoming glow. As Jed pulled up to the house, Lily took in the scene: horses grazing peacefully in a nearby pasture, chickens pecking around a coop, and a large, friendly-looking dog wagging its tail enthusiastically. It was a world away from the city she had left behind. Jed led her inside. The house was cozy and smelled of wood smoke and something baking. He showed her to a small, tidy room with a patchwork quilt on the bed. "Make yourself at home," he said. "I'll put on some coffee. And don't worry about your car. We'll get it sorted out." Lily could only nod, a strange sense of calm washing over her. This place, this man, felt safe. The next morning, Lily woke to the sound of roosters crowing. It was a sound she'd only ever heard in movies. She peeked out the window and saw Jed already up and working, mending a fence with strong, sure movements. The air was crisp and clean, filled with the scent of hay and earth. After a quick wash, Lily ventured outside. The ranch was bathed in the golden light of the morning sun. The vast, open spaces stretched out in every direction, a stark contrast to the cramped city streets she was used to. She watched as Jed moved among the animals, talking to them in a low, soothing voice. He seemed completely at ease, a part of this land. A curious calf ambled over to her, its big brown eyes studying her with innocent curiosity. Lily reached out tentatively and stroked its soft fur. It was a strange, unfamiliar sensation, but somehow, comforting. This life, so different from her own, was both foreign and strangely intriguing. She wondered what it would be like to live so close to nature, to feel so connected to the earth. Later that morning, after Earl had arrived to tow Lily's car, Jed found her sitting on the porch swing, looking lost in thought. He sat down beside her, not too close, giving her space. "Earl says it'll be a few days to get the parts," he said. "Radiators cracked pretty good." Lily sighed. "I don't want to be a bother," she said quietly. Jed chuckled. "You ain't no bother. Truth is, I could use the help. Ranch work is never done. If you're looking for something to do, I could sure use an extra pair of hands. Nothing fancy, just simple chores. Feed the chickens, maybe help with the garden." He paused, his gaze softening. "You don't have to, of course. But it might help pass the time." Lily looked at him, surprised. She sensed that Jed knew, somehow, that she was running from something, that she needed more than just a place to stay. He wasn't pushing her to talk, but he was offering her a way to feel useful, to feel like she belonged. And that, more than anything, was what she craved. Lily took Jed up on his offer. The first few days were awkward. She felt clumsy and out of place, unsure of herself. She scattered chicken feed more than she threw it, and she nearly tripped over a bucket of water. But Jed was patient, showing her how to do things without making her feel foolish. Slowly, she began to find her rhythm. She learned how to coax the chickens into their coop at night, how to weed the garden without pulling up the vegetables, and even how to mend a section of fence with Jed's guidance. The work was hard, her muscles ached at the end of the day, but it was a good kind of ache. It was the ache of accomplishment, of knowing she had contributed something. As she worked, Lily found her mind quieting. The worries and anxieties that had plagued her for so long began to fade into the background, replaced by the simple satisfaction of a job well done. She was still running, in a way, but now she was running towards something, not just away. She was running towards a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging, a sense of herself. One afternoon, Jed found Lily watching him as he tended to a newborn calf. The calf was wobbly on its legs, and Jed was gently guiding it towards its mother. "Want to learn how to do this?" he asked, his eyes twinkling. Lily hesitated. "I don't know. I might hurt it." Jed smiled. "You won't. Just be gentle. Come on." He showed her how to hold the calf, supporting its weight and guiding it towards its mother's udder. Lily was nervous at first, her hands trembling slightly. But as she felt the calf nuzzle against her, a sense of warmth spread through her. "That's it," Jed said, his voice soft. "Just like that. She's hungry." Lily watched as the calf began to suckle, a feeling of accomplishment washing over her. She had helped bring new life into the world. It was a small thing, but it felt significant. Jed stood beside her, his presence quiet and reassuring. In that moment, Lily felt a connection to him, to the land, and to herself that she had never felt before. It was a connection that whispered of hope, of healing, and of belonging. Evenings at the ranch settled into a comfortable routine. After a long day of work, Lily and Jed would share a meal at the large, wooden kitchen table. The food was simple but hearty: stew, cornbread, apple pie. At first, the conversation was stilted, filled with small talk about the weather and the animals. But as the days passed, they began to open up to each other, sharing small details about their lives. Lily learned that Jed had inherited the ranch from his father and had been working the land since he was a boy. He loved the wide open spaces, the challenge of caring for the animals, and the sense of peace he found in nature. Jed learned that Lily had grown up in the city, that she loved to read, and that she had always dreamed of living in the country. One evening, as they were washing dishes, Lily told Jed about her favorite book as a child, a story about a girl who finds a hidden garden. Jed smiled. "Sounds like you found your own hidden garden here," he said. Lily looked around the cozy kitchen, at the warm, inviting space, and realized that he was right. She was starting to bloom again, in this unexpected place, with this kind, gentle man. The memory surfaced unexpectedly, triggered by the smell of apple pie, just like her grandmother used to make. Lily was 13. Her parents, always focused on their careers, had left her in the care of her older brother, Mark. Mark was popular, athletic, everything Lily wasn't. One night, Mark had a party. Lily, feeling awkward and invisible, tried to stay out of the way. But Mark's friends noticed her. They started teasing her, making fun of her clothes, her shyness. Mark didn't stop them. He laughed along, wanting to be liked more than he wanted to protect his sister. The teasing escalated, becoming crueler, until Lily ran to her room, tears streaming down her face. She heard Mark's friends outside her door, still laughing. Mark joined them, saying, "Leave her alone, guys. She's just a weirdo." That night, Lily realized she didn't belong, not with her family, not anywhere. The memory faded, leaving Lily trembling, the old wound aching fresh. It was a feeling she carried with her, a feeling she desperately wanted to escape. That night, after Lily had retreated to her room, Jed found her sitting on the bed, staring out the window. He knocked gently. "Lily? You okay?" She shook her head, unable to speak. Jed sat beside her, his presence comforting. After a long silence, he said, "You know, everyone has a story. Everyone has things they're running from." He paused, then began to tell her about his own struggles. When he was younger, a terrible storm had wiped out most of his family's cattle, leaving them financially ruined. They almost lost the ranch. Jed had to work incredibly hard, taking on extra jobs, sacrificing everything to help his family rebuild. There were times when he felt like giving up, when he felt like he wasn't strong enough. But he kept going, driven by his love for the land and his family. "It wasn't easy," he said, his voice low. "But I learned that even in the darkest times, there's always hope. You just have to hold on to it." He looked at Lily, his blue eyes filled with compassion. "You're stronger than you think, Lily. You'll get through this." His story made Lily feel less alone, like maybe, just maybe, she could overcome her own past too. Days turned into weeks. Lily continued to help Jed with the ranch work, and with each passing day, she felt a sense of peace settling over her, a feeling she hadn't experienced since she was a little girl. The ranch, with its wide open spaces and its simple rhythms, became her sanctuary. She found comfort in the predictability of the chores, in the quiet companionship of the animals, and in the unwavering kindness of Jed. At night, she slept soundly, without the nightmares that had plagued her for so long. She woke up each morning feeling refreshed and ready to face the day. The fear and anxiety that had driven her to run began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of hope and a growing belief in herself. She realized that she wasn't just running away anymore. She was running towards something, towards a life where she could finally feel safe, where she could finally feel like she belonged. And that feeling, more than anything, was worth fighting for. The ranch wasn't just a place to hide, it was becoming a home. More and more, Lily found herself drawn to the animals. She spent hours in the pasture, watching the horses graze, their movements graceful and serene. She would sit by the chicken coop, listening to the gentle clucking and pecking, finding a strange sense of comfort in their simple existence. Even the grumpy old goat, who usually avoided people, seemed to tolerate her presence. She started to talk to the animals, sharing her thoughts and feelings with them in a way she couldn't with anyone else. They didn't judge her, they didn't offer unsolicited advice, they just listened. The big, friendly dog, Buster, became her constant companion, following her everywhere she went. He would rest his head on her lap as she sat on the porch, his warm body a source of unwavering comfort. These animals, with their unconditional love and acceptance, filled a void in Lily's heart. They showed her that she was worthy of affection, that she was not alone. They became her family, her friends, her silent confidants. And in their presence, she began to heal, to believe in herself again, to finally feel like she belonged. The annual county fair was a big event in the small town near Jed's ranch. Jed had been hesitant to suggest it, knowing Lily's shyness, but he also knew she needed to connect with people beyond the ranch. Finally, he broached the subject. "The fair's coming up next weekend," he said casually. "Thought you might enjoy it." Lily hesitated. The thought of being around so many people terrified her. But she also knew that she couldn't hide on the ranch forever. "Okay," she said, surprising herself. "I'll go." The fair was a sensory overload, the smell of popcorn and cotton candy, the sounds of laughter and music, the sight of colorful rides and games. Lily clung to Jed's arm, feeling overwhelmed. But as they walked around, people greeted Jed warmly, and he introduced Lily as a friend helping out on the ranch. To her surprise, people were friendly and welcoming. A few even struck up conversations with her, asking about her life and her time on the ranch. For the first time in a long time, Lily felt like she was being accepted, not judged. Maybe, just maybe, she could build a life here after all. As Lily and Jed strolled through the fair, enjoying the music, a familiar voice cut through the noise. "Lily? Is that you?" Lily froze, her heart pounding in her chest. She turned around slowly and saw him, Mark, her older brother. He looked older, more worn down than she remembered, but it was unmistakably him. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Mark shrugged. "Mom and Dad are worried sick. They sent me to find you. They want you to come home." He stepped closer, his eyes filled with a mixture of guilt and something else Lily couldn't quite decipher. "They miss you, Lily. We all do." Lily took a step back, feeling the familiar panic rising in her throat. "I can't," she said. "I'm not going back." The newfound peace and belonging she had found on the ranch suddenly felt fragile, threatened by the reappearance of her past. The shadows she had tried so hard to escape were closing in once again. Jed, who had been standing quietly beside Lily, stepped forward. He placed a protective hand on her shoulder, his gaze firm and unwavering. "Mark, isn't it?" he said, his voice calm but with an underlying steel. "Lily's a guest on my ranch. She's welcome to stay as long as she likes." Mark scoffed. "She can't just run away from her problems, Jed. She needs to face them." Jed's grip on Lily's shoulder tightened slightly. "Maybe she's facing them in her own way," he said. Maybe she needs a little time and space to figure things out. He looked at Lily, his eyes filled with understanding and support. It's her decision, Mark, not yours. Mark glared at Jed, then back at Lily. Fine, he said, his voice laced with bitterness. But don't say I didn't warn you. He turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Lily leaned into Jed's side, feeling a surge of gratitude and relief. He had stood up for her, protected her, shown her that she was worthy of love and protection. And in that moment, she knew that she wasn't alone anymore. That night, Lily couldn't sleep. Mark's appearance had stirred up all the old feelings of insecurity and worthlessness. But something had shifted. Jed's unwavering support had given her a strength she didn't know she possessed. She realized that running away wasn't the answer. She needed to confront her past, to heal the wounds that had been festering for so long. The next morning, she found Jed tending to the horses. I need to call my parents, she said, her voice trembling slightly. I need to talk to them. Jed nodded, his eyes filled with understanding. I'll be here for you, he said. Whatever you need. With Jed's support, Lily made the call. It wasn't easy. There were tears, accusations, and a lot of pain. But Lily stood her ground, telling her parents how she felt, how their neglect had affected her, and how she needed to create a new life for herself. It was the hardest thing she had ever done, but it was also the most liberating. She was finally taking control of her own life, building a new future for herself, one filled with hope, love, and belonging. A few days later, Earl called. Lily's car was fixed. She stood in the driveway, staring at the familiar sedan, now gleaming clean and ready to go. A wave of emotion washed over her. It felt like a lifetime ago that she had driven that car onto the ranch, lost and alone. Now, she was a different person, stronger, more confident, and filled with a sense of purpose. Jed stood beside her, his presence quiet and supportive. He didn't say anything, but Lily knew what he was thinking. It was time for her to make a choice. She could get in her car and drive away, back to the life she had left behind. Or she could stay, embrace her new life on the ranch, and see where it led. The decision weighed heavily on her, but deep down, she already knew what she had to do. The road ahead was no longer empty and unforgiving. It was filled with possibilities, with hope, and with the promise of a future she could finally believe in. Lily turned to Jed, her eyes filled with tears. I'm staying, she said, her voice trembling but firm. I'm staying here, with you. A slow smile spread across Jed's face. He reached out and took her hand, his touch warm and reassuring. I'm glad, he said simply. In that moment, Lily knew she had made the right decision. She had found a home, not just a place to stay, but a place where she truly belonged. She had found a family, not just people who shared her blood, but people who loved and supported her unconditionally. And she had found love, not just a fleeting infatuation, but a deep, abiding connection with a kind, gentle man who had shown her the meaning of true belonging. She didn't need to run anymore. She had found her place, her purpose, her happiness. She was finally home. The ranch, once a temporary refuge, had become her forever. The sun rose high in the sky, casting a warm golden glow over the ranch. Lily and Jed worked side by side, mending a fence together. Their movements were synchronized, a silent dance of shared purpose and mutual respect. Lily laughed as a mischievous goat tried to steal her tools, and Jed smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Later, they sat on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in vibrant hues of orange and pink. Buster lay at their feet, his tail thumping contentedly against the wooden planks. Lily leaned her head against Jed's shoulder, feeling a deep sense of peace and contentment. The ranch was more than just a place to work, it was a place to live, to love, to grow. Lily had come to the ranch lost and alone, but she had found so much more than she ever could have imagined. She had found a home, a family, and a love that would last a lifetime. And as she looked out at the vast, open spaces, she knew that she had finally found where she truly belonged.